Germantown, Ohio, Police Sergeant Scott Brown races to the scene of a terrible accident. A driver has lost control on this winding back road and hit a truck parked in someone's driveway.
The call we received was a accident with injuries where a car had flipped over and was on fire with a person trapped inside. Basically what I expected to find was just a little bit of smoke.
What Sergeant Brown sees as he approaches is a massive fireball. Inside it are two upended vehicles, and at the bottom is the victim.
Fully involved. Repeat, fully involved.
The sergeant cautiously approaches the scene.
I could see that there was a person hanging outside a passenger window, half in and half out of the car, and he was yelling, "Help me."
With the victim wedged beneath 2 tons of twisted flaming metal and no fire extinguishers handy, Sergeant Brown feels helpless. He's also literally surrounded by danger.
The lady that owned the parked vehicle told me that her truck was completely full of gas. She just filled it up before she parked that evening.
But that's not all. Just a few feet away from the inferno sits a tank of highly explosive propane. Suddenly, a blast. From the soaring temperatures inside the vehicle fire, a tire explodes. The victim is still conscious, but writhing in agony. Sergeant Brown, an 11-year veteran, is terrified.
A lot of fear. Once the explosion happened to me, I didn't want to go back up to the car. I thought about my family when I was standing there because I thought, I didn't know what was going to blow up next. The propane tank was starting to get hot and it was starting to steam.
Within seconds, Officer Kevin Shields arrives on the scene, but he knows nothing of the previous explosion or of the other dangers.
I immediately started running in towards the car. Once I was able to get close enough to the car, I squatted down and started crawling towards the vehicle and grabbed a hold of the subject's hands.
But Officer Shields was hardly without fear either.
I was scared, afraid of what could happen next. The fire was pretty intense.
He was pulling on this guy, trying to free him up, and he was telling him, "I'm going to get you out, I'm going to get you out." And I knew right there that I had to help him.
With no protective gear and with time running out, both men have to work fast.
Once I started pulling on him, I was immediately assisted by Sergeant Brown, and Sergeant Brown grabbed a hold of his other arm, and that's when we was able to pull him to safety.
The man is dragged a safe distance from the fire, but his injuries are extensive.
Tell the medics to step it up. Our victim.
The injuries the victim received were severe smoke inhalation, and he was burned over 35% of his body with 2nd and 3rd degree burns.
In the smoldering aftermath, it's hard to believe that anybody could have survived this inferno. But miraculously, the victim is alive. The officers escaped serious injury, but Sergeant Brown has one regret.
After the event, I felt that I didn't do enough to help him.
But he did help save a life, and Officer Shields could not have done it without him. For their extraordinary efforts, the men are hailed as heroes.
We were presented a proclamation by the mayor and the fire chief, and we were also given life-saving medals and medals of valor from our department.
To save a stranger, these 2 men had to overcome some hellish obstacles. But none were as great as the one they ultimately conquered, their own fears.